Hello and welcome to this week's weekly Old School Q&A live stream. Did I say something strange already?
No.
I'm getting some funny looks.
You worry about it.
It's the first line. If I've messed up already, then okay, be a new record. I'm joined this week on the sofa by Mod Kieran.
You all right?
Mod Ash.
Hi.
Mod Wolf.
Hello.
And Mod John C.
Hey.
And I'm your host, Mod Gambit.
Was that your mod name?
Sorry?
I've never actually looked.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's
Is that
what it
because you
is.
like chess?
It is, yes.
Thought it might be.
Yeah, a lot of people ask.
Rather than the
if it's,
X-Men character.
Yeah, right.
I'd have defaulted to the X-Men, to be honest.
Most people do.
Respect level went up when you said chess, so it's all...
Appreciate that.
And I didn't choose my name for the Pokemon thing.
So, for those of you who haven't seen...
Sorry, it even took me a second.
For those of you who haven't seen Mod John C on the sofa for a while, or at all, because it's been a while since you've frequented the sofa, would you maybe like to give an introduction of who you are, what your role is on the team?
Okay, I asked you to do that, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
So it's been a mad day. Yeah, I've not been on this sofa about a year, give or take.
I think only that was a one-off occasion.
It probably was. Probably talking mobile. But yeah, I've been with Old School since January 2014. I was in QA, did a bit of development, did a bit of production, now product manager. But I went away for a year and a half to build you guys mobile, essentially, with a different team working with Old School. So we did that, and now I'm back. Awesome. You should be seeing a lot more of me on the sofa as well. So, cue John Cena music.
Don't have it, sorry.
Oh,
I was kidding, but sure.
Well, we're very happy to have you back. I think we did briefly take you off the list of names at the bottom of our news post, but now you're firmly back on there and have been for a while.
Indeed.
So, excellent.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Good luck.
It didn't take long to feel like grave. It was like, all right, he's gone now, get rid of him. Off the news post, see you, kid, get out.
It was me that told him to take it off.
Oh.
Right, so I'll go over the announcements as per usual. Exclamation mark progress hopefully still links to the progress blog for Song of the Elves, which we released a couple of weeks back now. I don't know the exact date. It will give you the rundown on what the Song of the Elves team have been working on, how the quest has been going. Obviously, it's being released next week, which is super exciting. On the 25th, the usual Thursday, I believe it's going to be an hour earlier than the typical update, so rather than 11 a.m. UK time, it will be 10. So be prepared for that.
Be excited for it.
It's worth mentioning. Yeah, this is probably the biggest content release we've ever done.
Like, we're mildly concerned. The reason we're doing it a little bit earlier than 11, we're doing it like 10, like you said, is because we are mildly concerned that we might leave the office and you guys haven't even entered the city yet. So we'd like that to, if somebody could get in there before, we want to go out to the pub and celebrate, that'd be great. So if you can do that.
I did the build engineer side of making its release build yesterday, and I think it said there were 5,300 files involved. That's quite a lot of files.
Yeah, we've got a big whiteboard upstairs where we've all been adding our names to it and adding predictions for how long we think the quest will take. And I think the shortest one is just over 4 hours.
It's like 4.5, I think, is the short.
4:20.
Or 4:20 is the short.
That's the shortest prediction. Some predictions go up to like 6 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my prediction. I've just realised what I did.
What, say 420?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not intentional. I'll take it.
It's certainly not Cook's Assistant. There's a lot of content coming in. Obviously, the quest itself is considerable in size, but then obviously you've got the city as well, Briftonus, massive update for Old School. And then all the content that has inside it as well, like the Gauntlet and Zorcano in particular. But yeah, exclamation mark progress will give you the rundown on all of those. Sorry, Kieran, was there?
Just going to say, there's a lot to look forward to. So. I can't wait for the release date. It's not been an update I've been hugely involved with. I'm looking forward to just watching people play through it.
Looking forward to playing through that quest from end to end.
Yeah.
You may need to set a day aside for that one.
I cleared next weekend.
That seems good.
I recommend you do the same. Unlucky if you're getting married or something.
On the topic of Song of the Elves, we closed the login screen and video competitions on Sunday. Thank you everyone who entered those. We've had some really good entries for both, but especially for the login screens. They were cracking. We think we're still polling them right now, aren't we?
Poll closes tomorrow. We thought we'd leave it until later in the day so that people coming in from the game update get a chance as well.
What did you guys vote for? Of interest?
I abstained just as a point of fairness.
Oh, okay. Do you guys remember which one you liked?
B.
I liked B as well.
I like all of them.
I can't remember whether I said A or B.
Yeah, the quality of so many submissions we got this time was just a level up.
They're all really good.
Yeah,
They're all
very good.
top-notch.
Usually there's a clear favourite or at least number of favourites, but we struggled to even narrow it down to 4, didn't we?
Yeah, we did an internal vote to decide on the final 4 because we were like, there was so many.
Yeah, I think I drew up a short list of 9 or so which were really good, and then asked the team to sort of vote on their favourite 4. But even before I wrote that short list of 9, there was plenty more than that which were still great and just didn't make the cut then. On the point of on that topic, actually, Ash, I meant to ask you before. I suppose now is as good a time as any. Are we
I'm sorry, I'm taken.
too busy? Okay.
That's it. That's extreme. Let's just end it right
Destroyed. Right.
Got a ring on it.
Denied. Are we able to, and this is a bit controversial, are we able to hide the results of that poll after it's closed and then show the login screen on release and make that the announcement for the winner? Is that feasible?
We'd have had to reprogram the poll booth kind of before we sign off tomorrow's update. Sorry.
That's
and it would
absolutely
also
fine.
affect all future polls, and we've got some other ones coming up.
In which case,
We could maybe theoretically have it so that we say this is the end point, take a screenshot where the results are, but then people could still vote on it.
No.
But that would be ugly.
Right,
So
We
yeah.
need the poll booth for some other stuff.
yeah.
It might be possible to just hide the poll again so that people can't vote in it anymore. But it's not officially closed, so the game doesn't show it.
okay.
That might be. We might be able to do that. Why do we want to do this again?
Well, if it's not possible, not a problem. I guess we'll be announcing the winner tomorrow then. So, yeah, excited to see that happen.
And if we find that we suddenly can do this thing that we're describing, then we won't announce the winner tomorrow, but we'll know who it is, and you guys can not.
So I'll be surprised when they log in on the update day. I think that's the point.
Yeah, that was the idea, but then I actually think we're going to be polling something else before then anyway, so may not be possible. The video competition we will be announcing on probably on the Q&A next week, just before the update happens. We also had a lore competition where loads of you guys entered lore submissions, so stories, books, that kind of thing, and plenty of them have been written into the game, ready for that. So
There's
thank you
so
very much.
many books with this update. There's so many books. Like, I feel so bad for Mod Curse who had to QA all those. Because QA, like, can have moments where it's not the most fun in the world, but the least fun in the world is reading through these tiny, like, the great stories, but because of the way our interface works, like, this much text on each thing, so there's like 25 pages for what is essentially a Microsoft Word 2-page document.
What is
Is he
this,
like spell
25.
checking?
What?
Is he like spell checking or something?
Oh yeah, and the way it's written in code, if you need to change something as well, it's like a full massive string unless it's wrapped, so it's just like one full line that you're reading
Always
through to
have it
find.
wrap.
It's the worst.
Always have it wrap.
But yeah, great stories though.
What is a story for ants?
What is this? Yeah, they're really good.
And then, of course, the final competition that we're going to run is going to be post-release, which is the Gauntlet Race. So I think for the 2 weeks after launch, we'll be clocking your times for completing the new PVM challenge, and the winner is going to get one of our GT Omega gaming chairs, which we've posted, I believe. We may not have posted an image of them yet, but they are around, and I'll post one shortly, maybe after this, just to let you. Yeah, one of those ones.
Push
Push it in, push it in.
Yeah, bring it on, and guys.
Bring it on.
We're giving those away. I want one of those.
I know I do.
Demonstration.
Right.
We're not
Beautiful assistant, producer Mod John. Ooh.
We're not giving it away. It's being prized.
That
to
one in
a
particular.
mighty PVM champion.
Kieran,
No, that one exactly
think we
that
can win
Mod
that
John has been
competition.
sat on. That one.
I want that
That
chair.
specific one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Got the butt sweat and everything. It's perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah, if you want that, prepare to be good at PVM and the Gauntlet and complete Song of the Elves as fast as you can to get there.
Sounds easy, right?
What was it? What did you say? 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes.
That's not even enough time to wait for a quest guide. You're going to have to do that quest without the guide.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say the point we made it 2 weeks rather than say 1 week or a few days after was we don't want to encourage people to space bar through the quest. We know a lot of you will anyway, if you're not particularly into the lore, but we do want to encourage you to enjoy the quest and the story that Mod Ed has beautifully woven to be a part of the game's history.
And also there's a puzzle in there that might be a bit challenging.
Play with
There is.
audio on. We've got so many new super cool
There are
tracks.
so much to this.
I forget. I've lost count.
Or something,
So how many?
like 19 possibly.
90. Wow.
But yeah, it's
Can't remember the exact.
a load of the dialogue is what makes it adds to the story. If you understand the consequences of what you're actually doing, it adds so much weight to what you're doing. It makes it so much more enjoyable. So
All right, so that's enough on Song of the Elves for the time being. I would like to talk briefly about warding next. So on Monday, we posted the second warding blog, which featured a lot of feedback changes. We cut back the skill and brought it down to its sort of core fundamentals in a lot of ways. Exclamation mark warding will bring you to that blog. And we're also splitting the poll questions. So the core skill is being polled separately from many of the other features, so that, well, you can really pick and choose what you want, and we've separated the skill from those features. I have some well, did you guys want to talk a bit more generally about warding? Otherwise, I've got some questions for you to answer about it.
Yeah, do you want to?
Essentially, just my only ask is you go and read the info and vote in the poll.
Yeah.
Don't want to try and influence your decision. Obviously, most of us think it's a cool idea, if not all of us. But you guys have your say. This is what's so special about Old School. And a new skill is massive. But yeah, go get yourselves clued up, figure out what it is, and decide if it's for you, and go have a vote.
Couldn't echo that anymore, really. I think at the end of the day, you know, the blog's been changed so much from what it originally was, and we know that a lot of people didn't originally like some of the rewards that were suggested to begin with. I'd say just give it another read, give it another chance, and then the most important thing is just vote, which way that is. We just want to hear your opinion on it. We just want to create cool content.
It's worth emphasising as well, like, this is a big change, right, as Wolf said, and that was driven by your feedback. We saw the response to the initial blog. We took that on board. We spent an awful lot of time going through that, and hence why it's taken so long to get back to this stage. So please give it a read and see what you think.
All right, so I did have some questions in reaction to that blog, which I will throw your way. The first is, players want to know when the beta will take place.
So I don't really have a fixed date, and I expect we'll probably have more than one, might even have one ongoing. We'll build out that roadmap once we've got it through the poll. We needed to do that before we start putting that much more investment into figuring out how it's going to work. But ultimately that beta is there to serve that we're building it in the right way, it's suitable for the game, it's balanced correctly. The only real true way to do that is to get hands-on feedback from you guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be sometime before launch, obviously. Sometime after its poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll take as long as it takes to get it right.
Cool. If the skill fails, would we go ahead and release it anyway in the future?
Ultimately, I think that will come down to the appetite from the community. We'll see how it fares at poll, starting Friday, I believe.
Right.
Yep.
Just to clarify on that, by the way, that isn't we put it in without it passing. Not at all.
What exactly were you asking there?
No, it would of course need to pass a poll for it to go live. If it fails, it won't. We won't just go, oh well, here it is anyway. We're not going to do that.
That is what I was getting at. We've got some players who are quite maybe suspicious of our intentions with this sort of thing. Maybe thinking we're being overly pushy, and they're worried that we would just sort of go ahead with the launch.
Yeah, not at all. I mean,
Which is that we wouldn't follow it in the first place.
Of course, off the table.
I just want to re-summarize that one. The TLDR is, if it fails, no, we won't put it in game without it passing. I think what John C was trying to say is maybe, if it's 74.9%, we'd probably look, why was that the reason? Is it something that's small that we could change? Or, as we do with most things that fail that close, potentially revisit in the future. But no, if it's 74.9%, it's still a fail. We wouldn't put it in game.
That is what I was getting at.
Good. Your initial answer of yes was a little surprising.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
I hadn't considered that kind of aspect of it, because for me it's a no-brainer. It doesn't pass its poll, it doesn't happen.
Right.
Unless it falls under one of our sort of caveats of game integrity. And I don't think a new skill does.
It really doesn't.
And I don't think it'd be in anyone's best interest to suddenly just not use the poll.
No.
Like Kieran said, this is a big deal. If it's coming into the game, it should be because you asked for it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Cool. And then the last one is a bit more specific. It's a suggestion actually saying we should add a quest for Dagon High robes with this release.
So I really like that. It feels like it makes sense given the sort of historical lore around Dagon High, and I think they were part of the Wild Gothic Sleeps.
They first turned up in the What Lies Below quest.
Yeah, and they were obtainable after or during Wild Gothic Sleeps, I think, back in RuneScape in 08, 09, whenever that was. But again, ultimately it will come down to, does it make sense? It sounds like it does. We've presented some unnamed quests in the full public design document. If you want to give those a scan, please do. It's linked in the blog. I think you can obtain the blog by typing !warding.
Yep.
Awesome. I've not been on Q&A in years, so I don't know how they work anymore.
Still got it.
So if it makes sense, it's adding some value and enriching your player experience, and it's cost effective, so it won't take us years and years to write a quest that makes it sensible. Then sure, there's a good chance we'll consider it and try and deliver it.
I think
Staff like writing quests.
But I think we're pretty up for at least have an introductory quest for sure. That's one thing that we're all pretty sure, like we should have something like runecrafting did, like a little intro. And similarly, you know, I've seen suggestions for like elemental workshops, and I was like, not the most popular of quest desires.
I love those quests.
I
don't write them, so.
Yeah.
I think it's worth stating as well that if Warding does pass, it's not going to go dead silent until we ship the thing. That's where we're really going to start leveling up our collaboration with you. That's a lot of elves in one phrase. So you expect to hear more. We'll be collecting ideas, helping shape the design. Ultimately, it's a skill that's going to work for you. We need your feedback, your requirements to make it successful, right? So, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the TLDR for anyone tuning in just now is !Warding to read the latest blog. We'll be polling it on Friday, so inform your own opinion and let us know what you think.
In the meantime, the player in the chat with the name that's a 1 and a load of underscores, asking what about the things that were just polled in poll 68. Development's already started on those. In fact, quite a few of them have already been signed off from testing. We've got a rather large elf quest kind of on its way out the door first. And we're not going to try and bundle a lot of stuff alongside that because, well, we've got enough to focus on with the elves.
We're not upset with having something that's ready to go out. It's just, you know, Song of the Elves it's huge.
But we should be able to get you some of those once the elves are out the door and we're into August.
I do love a good call.
Early August, why not?
It's flooding the chat now, famous player.
You have been chosen. Well done. 1_______.
I've still got some way to go on the ones involving interfaces because those take longer. Interface work always does, but we're talking mid-August for a lot of this stuff.
So along similar lines, in preparation for Song of the Elves, like we said in last week's update, this week is going to be quite light in terms of content while we prepare ourselves for the big launch. But what it will contain are changes to Last Man Standing, which the beta of is going incredibly well. Huge shout out to Mod Rock and Mod Maz for their work on that, both in design and development. You guys have been loving it and enjoying it. Has anyone else here been playing a bit of LMS on the side?
I've watched a bit of it on Twitch. I've obviously seen a lot of people talking about it. So
it was meant to be a really quiet week, and I think we've put in like 18 feedback jobs for LMS, and we also added in the quest. Can I say that right?
It's not going to be a secret.
Yeah, on the quest list, we've actually already put Song of the Elves on there because we realised looking on Twitter to find out what stats you need for next week's release is a lot harder than
everyone.
harder than just clicking on it and it's showing us stats. So Song of the Elves will appear greyed out that you can click on, so you can see what stats you still need, what quests you still need if you haven't got them all already. Looking at you, Boaty. I remembered. I don't forget. And then, lots of LMS changes and feedback because you guys have been loving that. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the 18 things you listed includes the things that we were doing proper permanent fixes for based on last week's hot fixes. But the things we've got that are new from the update include the final areas. They're going to be a bit bigger than they currently are because where the fog stops, the area that's left is quite small. And also, you can't quite see where it is because there's no marker, and all you can really do is blunder around until you start dying of fog. So we've put those the big glowing balls you get around Dead Man final areas. We're having the big glowing balls in Last Man Standing as well to mark the edges of the fog.
A lot of changes as well. We've got some should we talk about it?
I have a list of the exact changes.
Go on then.
If anybody's interested.
Speak.
So we are removing the accumulator from the starting inventory. It was just sort of a useless switch, apparently. I mean, I'm not a PK, so I wouldn't know, but you guys have let us know. The Dragon Warhammer is being replaced with a Mage's Book, so that's one of the items that you would get for looting a Bloody Key.
Bloody Key.
Oh, Bloody Key was it for the DWH?
Not just any bloody key.
The starting area spawns have been changed to group you in groups of 6 now. So that's sort of a balancing thing whereby you won't have maybe 4 or 5, an odd number of players in your starting area, so you've got to then run off and find a fight. As Ash mentioned, we're doubling the size of the final area and marking its boundary. We're capping the number of Saradomin brews you can have, so it'll be 1 per inventory now. Dragonstone bolts are being replaced with diamond bolts.
That was a big one. People really wanted that one.
And we're adding some more chest locations. And that caps it.
And is that all coming Thursday?
all coming Thursday.
Yeah, it's been a
Tomorrow.
very busy day since it's been
Wednesday
a busy
already?
time since last Thursday with implementing that lot.
Some of the changes have already been hotfixed as well, some things that we could change, but
We've done plenty of stuff already. I mean, I've got a list of that as well if you're interested.
we're also keeping an eye on how Mage is faring as well. So we have a couple of things that if you so incline, we could potentially, with a hotfix, add in a couple of more items that are obtainable within that chest to help Mage out.
There's one thing we could also maybe talk about. There's been a lot of complaints from LMS in terms of the unfair safe spotting, like the line of sight not being equivalent from one side to the other. This is something that we've been looking into, but we haven't got around to properly testing yet, because the line of sight rules are the problem here, in that it's not symmetrical or side to side, but that's going to affect safe spotting against NPCs, and obviously that sort of thing across the whole entire game. That's not insignificant.
Yeah, so Mod Atlas from the platform team, the engine team here, has done some of that famous engine work and has prepared a fix for it. But as Kieran says, it's going to have a lot of impact when that one rolls out. So what we'd like to do is do as much testing as we can internally first before troubling you with it, and then hopefully put it on the LMS beta worlds in mid-August, once we've been able to deal with some of the its worst issues before it gets to you.
Yeah.
And that will give you guys an opportunity to try it in LMS, obviously, but also you can use the rest of the world on those worlds, and we'd therefore be able to get some more extensive beta testing done that way.
I think things like Barbarian Assault and
Indeed, because
General NPC.
I'd like to know for sure, is it going to impact the way the the runner of things see food?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of worth knowing before we roll it out to the entire game on the real world.
Something like Inferno obviously is very dependent on this. So there's a whole bunch of those things that we need to look at and determine how that is affected. Ideally, it's not affected, right? That's what we want to be in that situation. And if it is changed, we want to understand exactly what is changing in all of these places, so we can understand if it's still something we want to do.
Yeah. This is one of those scenarios where the best people to tell us if something is wrong in those, especially things like Barbarian Assault, are people like you.
And then there's the rat catchers, the patrolling guards. Now,
I won't mind deleting that.
Yeah, let's just delete the guards. People will find
so there's the Sorcerer's Garden with the patrolling guards from the same developer. And then there's that thing in Edgar's Ruse, not from the same developer, with the trolls who throw clubs at you. The kind of things where we're going to have to make sure we cover those as well, because with the best will in the world, if we give you a beta world and let you go anywhere you like on it, you probably won't do the rat catchers quest.
So I guess
unless you're a real masochist.
TLDR is we're going to figure out what it will do. We'll consult with you guys to determine whether or not that's the thing we want to do, and then we'll run a series of public tests to actually establish whether or not we think it's what it's doing is actually what it's doing.
That's the plan. We're just not going to be able to do that right now.
Yeah, so we're trying to deal with it, but yeah.
But we got the engine work done. Big thanks to Mod Atlas there.
Awesome.
Yeah, obviously the one-way safe spotting is something we would look to fix, given, well, its unfair sort of nature. A separate but similar topic is the trees in LMS. Do you know about these, Wolf?
the diagonal attacking of...
Yeah, so whereby you freeze your opponent, run behind a tree, and then attack them. Your attack animation, say you're using range, will delay your character appearing where they actually are, making you only available to be attacked for one tick. It provides a huge sort of positional advantage to the player who catches the freeze.
Can you not do that walking under someone as well, though?
Not quite the same way, because you can still be attacked
Oh, cool.
a lot more easily. You can still spam click the person who's underneath you. I think this requires a bit more discussion. Some players say it's part of PKing, some people think it's unfair. I guess we'll just sort of refer to your guys' feedback on this one and talk to ModRock a bit more about it, and see if we should keep that or not.
I guess that's a thing that happens everywhere, though, in the wilderness, etc., etc.
So is the one-way safe spotting. This, on the other hand, is not so obvious that it needs changing. An asymmetric line of sight check makes no sense.
Yeah. There's a strong argument that this is just part of PKing and part of, it requires a level of skill to pull off. There we go. If you have further feedback for LMS, I think we're going to keep the beta open sort of indefinitely for the time being.
Indefinitely for the time being. We don't expect it to be open all the way through to the full launch, but
No.
it's staying open well into August anyway, especially as we want to do this line of sight thing.
Just don't be frozen, forehead.
Yes, absolutely. So if you have any further feedback on LMS, it's going to be open for a while. Feel free to play it and ping at JagXRock with your suggestions.
Just wonder if you mentioned don't be frozen. If there was some new high-level mage armor in the game somehow.
I see what you're getting at, but we're going to move on.
Yeah, I was hoping you would.
All right. That brings us just about to the end of all the announcements and things to talk about before the questions. Although before I do move on to the questions, I would like to highlight a bit of user-generated content.
Ooh.
Is anyone on the sofa in the chat familiar with Lil Smokey? Lil
He's
Smokey,
been making
anyone?
cool little videos, right?
He's been making some very high-quality videos.
I know what this is. Yeah.
So I think something like maybe 3-4 hours ago, he dropped the latest. And if we can get our producer to show it on screen, you guys can see it for
Oh,
yourselves.
John, take it away.
Enjoy.
Scanning planet information. Resources, animals, and humans detected. Image found of their leader. Look what I found, Sea Shanty 2. Warning. Planet resources are running low. They won't stop making fire, dropping fish, and wasting resources. Commence Operation Balance Gillinor.
Wait, stop, please don't, man. I swear, I just put 500 hours into getting this whip. I swear to God, if I get picked.
Hi, and welcome to my game.
That's
Can
so
we get an
good.
F in the chat?
Well
All our
done.
Fallen Brothers.
F in the chat. Yeah, I saw
that
Slayer,
what it stands
Slayer
for?
music. He tweeted out, he was like, "Oh no, I got caught up in the dust. I guess we now have to watch soup guides." And I thought, oh, painful. There was really top notch. I love his work.
Yes.
Good time to probably remind them about Golden Gnomes.
Yes, so we haven't closed them just yet. We're closing the Golden Gnome nominations. Ooh, it may be tomorrow. I have to double check on that.
Soon is the
If
message.
they haven't already, they might have been closed already. I'll have to check and I'll post about it after the stream. But yeah, we'll see how Lil Smokey does. He's quite a late appearance. Just suddenly came out of nowhere with all this high quality content. I don't know his Twitter handle off the top of my head, but if you go for Lil Smokey search on Twitter, you will find him. Make sure to drop him a follow. Quality. Lil Smokey Tube. That's it. All right, so I realise we're about half an hour in, but I'm going to move on.
Soup's in the chat. Hi mate, you all right?
Yikes.
You okay, Stefan? Nice to see you, bro. Love you guys.
I realise we're about halfway into the Q&A, so I'm going to start asking some questions. The first one says, Old School is a highly click-intensive game, and the delay for the long tap on mobile is not smooth at all. Could we add an option for 2 quick taps or similar to register as a right click?
So I don't know about that functionality. I'd have to take it to the platform guys. But you can choose one tap mode, which it's an accessibility feature that RuneScape's had for a very long time, where you can make your default action be a right click. It's found through the settings menu, and I think it's on the one tap menu.
You can have it on the one tap menu, which you don't have to right click.
Yeah, you can just tap it. Same as tap to drop. It's on the same functionality settings there. But yeah, try that, see if it helps, and we'll follow up probably in some months, given how busy the platform team are regarding that request.
Ah, awesome. What are the team's thoughts on skull tricking? Do you consider it to be a fair part of the game? If not, can you add further measures to prevent it?
Oh, it's juicy. That's a juicy question.
It is.
That's a proper question.
It's a spicy question.
I would like to take that question, throw it in a straw poll, and see what the chat says.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just.
So my general opinion on skull tricking, I have some mixed thoughts. However, I think it's a cross between. If it's something that is blatantly obvious a problem via us, as in that shouldn't interact like that, I think that deserves to be fixed. As in, have we implemented something that is so broken that you wouldn't expect to be skulled in that way? However,
just remember to pull Levsa with the fez.
Well, you're right. It's a context. It's a context thing because it's not like skull trick. We can just set skull tricking to false. This is random different things.
There's a level of player control.
Each one might be okay. Some of them might not be.
Some scenarios, though, depending on how it's done, might be okay and worth leaving in. I mean, no offense, but I think it's kind of an introductionary thing that you need to have your stuff stolen from you in the wilderness as a noob at some point. Like, you learn by being lured to an extent.
There is a good
I'd rather
point.
you didn't get lured, but if you did, you won't do it again. Or you won't fall for it again, for sure.
There is the good point is where's the line with scamming with this?
Yeah.
Because that's very much what it could fall under, right? So
like, where's that? Yeah.
The way I see it is the state of being skulled, for the way the game is designed, it appears to be something that you would deliberately opt into.
Yeah, you can't be skulled if you don't go in the wilderness. Like 200 IQ.
So skull tricking does seem to sort of defeat the point. However, it is within the limitations of the game. It's not like there's no rule against it or anything like that.
Yeah.
If two people look the same and you click on the wrong one, there's not much we can do about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about this one. Frankly, I'd be curious to know what the chat thinks if we've got a straw poll running.
I can get what the question is.
So let's say, is skull tricking? I just want to phrase it the right way. Is skull tricking a legitimate mechanic in Old School? And then just go for yes or no.
Yes, maybe go yes, no, and dependent on scenario.
Sure.
Like, I think we'd all agree that if you're getting skulled and attacked, in Falador, maybe we should do something about that. But, unless it's a PvP world.
Massacre.
We'll be calling Ash out again to do it.
I'm not on call these days.
Oh, that's true, actually. That's right.
Good luck, Kieran.
Yeah.
Generation.
sorry.
I think it's Ed right now on call.
Keep on call.
I suspect it's going to be one of those things where PVMers largely will want options that make it essentially impossible to get skulled by accident, whereas PKers think it will be a legitimate part of the game.
It's a shocking conclusion to draw that people that want to kill people want it to be easier and people that don't want to die. want it to
It's
be
funny
harder
how
to
that
die.
works out, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Mind-boggling.
Some people go to university for 4 years to get a degree that says that they can design something like that.
Cool. So while that straw poll is running, I'll move on to the next question, which is, will we ever see existing areas of the game which were clearly still being developed or in the middle of a storyline at the time of Old School's release be expanded? For example, Keldagrim is a huge city, but it's lacking in content besides the blast furnace and doesn't have a conclusion to its main storyline.
You're right, Calgrim is completely useless, isn't it?
It's where you buy your magic stone and your gold leaf.
You can do your goldsmithing training.
I don't buy them there. I buy them from the Grand Exchange because I trust that somebody else is.
Someone's buying them from there.
That blast furnace is making bank. Everywhere else in Keldagrim is going dirt poor right
People
now.
choose to restrict themselves to only be underground.
It's true. Essentially, the answer to the question is, we can do whatever we like as long as, one, you guys vote for it, and two, we are respectful to the overarching deep storylines of the RuneScape franchise. We can't start crossing too many boundaries, but we can do what we like with existing storylines.
Well, this is the thing. We've done Trolls already.
done things to Trolls.
We're doing Elves right now. These are all continued storylines that have already actually finished.
Taste of Hope.
The Troll hasn't. Taste of Hope. Like, we're doing storylines that are old and created, and
Dragon
we
Slayer
are
2, Monkey Madness 2.
with some of the Elves. Definitely, as somebody
With
who's played.
vampires.
Yeah, like I've played both quests, the RuneScape and this version now, and they hit the same beats, but they're completely different quests. So it's possible to do.
I've been concepting something involving the sea slugs as well, because Slug Menace ends on a bit of a cliffhanger with Mother Malum heading off to do her thing somewhere. The developer had in mind what she would go and do and where, and it's not what happened in Salt in the Wound. So there's scope to take that story differently, I think.
Is that Nancy?
No, I think his name was Mod Kip, wrote Slug Menace. Nancy did the Penguins.
Oh, all right, that's where I'm
Now,
going.
Salt in the Wound was the developer on that one. Mod Trick was told he had to finish the Slug story, do something with Penguins, plug Dungeoneering, because that was a hot thing at the time, and not have any combat requirements, because that would stop people doing it. That was
The tricky requirements, huh?
yeah, especially as I think there was an actual inconsistent ordering of penguin quests that meant that couldn't make sense.
So like Cold War, then Raktuber by that point.
Yeah, he had to follow Raktuber but not require it. It was challenging for him, and the players didn't like the result, and he's not with us anymore. I hope he's having more fun somewhere else.
It wasn't because of the quest, for the record. It's
Right.
But yeah, we might be able to do a different story involving the slugs, involving Mother Malum a bit more. Maybe it could be different, and you know what I mean if you've done the quest. And also, I'd like to address more about what the Temple Knights are up to, because it's always been hinted that they are really quite nasty behind the scenes. And although the developer apparently worked on a cutscene where you'd be seeing through a slit in a jail door, where you, the player, had taken an NPC to be debriefed after his possession by Mother Malum, and this debriefing would consist of being strapped to a rack with a great big burly Temple Knight pounding away on him and trying to get info out of him, and you'd start having to wonder whether you were doing the right thing.
No,
now whether or not we use an actual torture cutscene in Old School is maybe not.
more kittens. It's always kittens if we have torture scenes, right?
Yeah.
Could be.
No, there's that one in the Elf.
In
Where's the
Moines
feathers?
part 1, you there's a gnome strapped down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever
You
actually
tickle him with a
torture
feather. I
thought
don't
you
think
just threatened
It's
him.
extreme. I mean,
I thought you just threatened him rather than actually
I don't
doing
know.
it.
You can use a
that's
feather
true.
on him.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I thought it was just to threaten him rather than to actually do it.
Oh,
It's been a few years since I did this.
I can't remember as well. And the thing, I'm slowly starting to realise of our quests as time goes on. I think we're the baddies.
RuneScape.
We're the bad guys. Like, we are the
It is
bad
that kind of
guys.
fantasy game. I'm sorry.
Like,
It's the price of adventure.
It's really weird because I'm wearing my bandos and it's got spikes and skulls on it. Like, am I?
Are we the bad?
Hey, what was the question? Was it dwarves?
Yeah. So would we like
Maybe
to
I
go
shouldn't
back
have
to?
slayed 300,000 creatures.
Do some of these storylines.
So to
Real
drag
torture.
the conversation back to the original question.
Yes.
Yes, we'd love to develop some of the older stuff that already exists in game. It's just a case of weighing up how much you guys want that versus the new stuff, and then balancing our development schedule around that. On the very topic, we're actually planning a survey, which we discussed earlier in the year, whereby we'll be doing exactly that. We'll be finding out exactly how much you guys want older content to be revisited, which type, and in what ways. We'll be capturing that information, hopefully towards the end of next month, so you can look out for that. And then if it turns out the majority of you guys do want this stuff revisited, then we'll go ahead and do it, hopefully. Our next question asks, are there plans to release a tank mechanic in future? This would give items like the Bulwark and the Justicia set a place outside of PvP.
I wouldn't say we have a plan for one, but that's not to say it's not on the cards. At least I don't know of any in our current concepts.
I'm pretty sure when we made the Bulwark, we said that we would be taking its existence into account when designing future bosses.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever really worked out.
Yeah, we'd have to make one really hardcore on tanking, I think, to make that work. But yeah, that's not to say it's not going to ever happen. Like,
Sure. I would say there's call for it, given that we've got items like Justicia in the Bulwark, but no real content that requires you to tank so heavily.
It's just, I really, really dislike creating bosses where you require something. I really hate how like Cerberus, you almost need the spirit shield. Which one is it? Like, I don't like that, but it's sometimes the only way to get it to work. Sometimes there's just no other way. Because in this, like in a game like Old School, you can't just have it so, like we're not World of Warcraft in the sense that, pulling can be a mechanic in that way, unless the boss is specifically designed like that, because of the way that NPCs work in our game.
I don't think you would need to go that far to make it required. Like, if a boss really requires a tank, and that player's taking quite a lot of damage, it's very doable without having the Bulwark. It's balanced so that having the Bulwark would be better than not having it. I mean, much like having twisted bow is better than using a maple bow somewhere, right?
You could essentially take Grador, give him some steroids, and have him hit through prayer, and you'd need one already.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking
Bulwark
about,
is already very good at tanking bandos. It's just not it's just not better than doing damage.
But then you have to start thinking about weird mechanics like, okay, great, so you've got this new group boss that requires 4 people to kill, and you've got one person taking all the damage, who presumably goes in first, which is usually how you pull in our game to tank.
Yeah.
And what are the other 3 people doing? Just wailing on him for 30 seconds? Is there stuff they avoid? Do we use falling rocks again? Because
Yeah.
We love them falling rocks.
Yeah, I saw some good suggestions about build work though right now, because the main blocking mode you can't attack with, right?
Yeah.
And that's very much the point. It's like it's meant to emphasize that you're a tank, you're not dealing damage. But players highlighted that one of the problems with that is means they can't generally lure the attention of the monster when they attack because they can't attack.
Yeah.
So they'd prefer if it just dealt zeros rather than
We could make it, something like that.
rather than physically preventing you from attacking.
Yeah.
Which might give us what we need,
That's a good idea.
which might help it. But anyway,
Yes. On the topic of the bulwark, should we address the PvP change that we suggested in the small changes and improvements poll blog, where we said we'd like to nerf it, I think across the board, -10. There's been quite a strong reaction to that suggestion.
As recall, the thing is, for PvP situations where it needs nerfing, that's been said by some not to be enough. And for almost every other situation in the game, the thing's not much use anyway. So nerfing it is going in the other direction other than where they'd like it to go. Which is why we suggested we might like to look at a different implementation where it gets, well, not as good in PvP, but better in PvM.
Right.
With a rather different design to what we pitched before. Some further discussion to be had there, I think, as to what exactly it does.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea, ship it over to us.
Let us know.
Sure. I think it's one of those things, again, where different parts of the community, sort of PvP and PvMers, have very opposed interests. So it's difficult to get a very clear answer on what's right for the item. It may end up being the case whereby a nerf is justified in PvP situations, but maybe some new content gives it extra uses or makes it better elsewhere. But that's something we're going to discuss internally. Similar to the Gmaul, we know that suggestion gave rise to, again, quite a heated debate, let's say. We're also going to be discussing what the right solution for that item is as well before we do anything.
Celebrate that for a second as well. I don't know of any other game in the world where you can not even just do something and then react to feedback, but suggest we're going to do something and have such a passionate group of players help us shape what that thing should be. It's just wonderful.
For sure, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
You soppy.
Hearts in chat, guys.
I'm a romantic at heart.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, before I forget, we got the results of that straw poll in where we asked you guys if skull tricking is a legitimate mechanic in the game. Half of you said yes, 30% of you said no, and then the remaining 20% said it depends on the situation.
So basically they don't know either.
I guess not. I'm surprised actually, though. I imagined more players in the Twitch chat to say it's not, but I guess we'll work out later on if we want to change skull tricking or not, I guess. Not clear right now what the answer is. Besides partnerships, what methods has Jagex considered for bringing in new players? I vaguely remember RuneScape commercials in the past. Would you consider doing more of those or reaching out to influential Twitch streamers who stream other games?
So I've had quite a lot of exposure to our marketing efforts the last few years, having been the producer on mobile. It's marketing, it tends to come down to your cost per acquisition. Essentially, various different channels offer that, various different prices, you're talking to various different audiences. And the way ads are so targeted these days, there really is no sort of catch-all kind of thing. We don't do things like TV commercials because how many 20-year-olds do you know that watch TV?
TVs are dying off.
Yeah.
What's the television?
Exactly.
It's the thing Netflix comes up on.
So outside of partnerships, we have a core marketing team that work around the clock to essentially spending a lot of money to try and find players that want to come play the game, try and find players that used to play the game and bring them back. That kind of stuff, but essentially it comes down to doing a lot of maths and finding out what's most cost effective.
There you go. I know the marketing guys have put together a few ads, and I see them from time to time on Facebook or other social media, so we do that.
If you play the game, you're unlikely to see them. It's another thing to bear in mind. Sometimes you do, though.
In addition to the discussed ecumenical key change, can they be added to the Avian Sea drop table? They're the only NPC in the God Wars dungeon that doesn't drop them.
Yeah, this is true, and we polled it on 68 and it passed.
Yes.
Nice.
There we go.
Is there a
There you go.
reason?
The answer is because previously they were noted adamantite bars and the only creature that dropped them. So we thought, do they really need an additional incentive outside of that? Because we doubled it in the wilderness as well. At which point we went, no. And that was, 5 years ago, and times have changed, and 2 adamantite bar drops are no longer exciting.
Well, it used to be that they were the only thing with banknoted adamant drops, but then we did a Starry reward in 2015, so it's not unique to the wilderness anymore. And we can add the ecumenical keys to the Aviances. I don't think this is going to be much of a game changer for the most part, but I know there's some players who are quite happy about it, who've mentioned it, and what the heck, it means that you won't sit there grinding on the wrong NPC for hours.
Yeah, no, it occurs to me the reason that question is still in there is because we didn't do a Q&A last week, so we're gathering questions from a previous list.
Fortunately, it came up last week, so we just put it on poll 68 and did it.
Are there plans to... I know a lot of these questions start, are there plans? And even if we don't have plans, we might still like the idea and discuss them. They say, are there plans to add a toggleable icon next to your RSN in clan chats and friends lists that would indicate your own mobile? I'm not ignoring you, just barbarian fishing while on the bus.
So it's not planned. Essentially, it's not to say we couldn't do it. I'm not sure you'd want it in all situations as well.
Right.
So I guess that's why they're asking for the toggle. But it's the value of a feature, and doing anything mobile is very expensive.
Especially as this one means that the chat system shared between Old School and RS3 would have to become able to know that information about everybody who's logged in and pass it to all the game worlds in real time along with all the other info it passes.
Yeah,
That's not just engine work for our lot, it's engine work for the RS3 team as well. And their engine team ain't exactly short of work too, because, well, frankly, they haven't even got a full mobile launch yet, so we are unlikely to bog them down with nice-to-haves when they've got more critical things they need.
Yeah, that covers it.
It's also my understanding that because of mobile emulators that you can get on desktop, which would obviously probably make you look like you're coming in on mobile anyway if we had such a system, we'd have to be very, very careful to make sure any indication or separation like that wouldn't provide any advantages or disadvantages. So it's not necessarily something we'd be able to pull off. Can members' items be changed so that they can be sold on the Grand Exchange from free-to-play accounts?
That is something we've wanted to get done for a number of years now.
You've been pushing that one a little bit more recently.
I've been investigating a little bit into this. One aspect of this is that on a free-to-play world, you're still going to need to be able to see what a member's item is. Right now, that's obvious. You right-click the item and it says member's item instead of the name. But if we're going to let you sell them on the G, we'd want to enable it so that you can see the real item name, etc. So we'd have to do some other method, whether it's maybe we attach a symbol to the name or make all members' items have brackets M or something in there. We'd need to come up with something that achieves that in a way that you guys are happy with.
And also the game currently has no idea whether the thing's tradable or not, because on a free-to-play world it says, no, that's not tradable, it's a members item. But we don't want to enable trading all the untradable free-to-play members items on those worlds as well, which is why this whole thing is, firstly, engine work, secondly, some designing needs before the engine team could do it. And they are, again, not short of player requests, so I do think this is a rather valuable one.
Yeah, it'd be good to do, because I know it's a bit of a pain when you're in a free-to-play world, and I mean, maybe you've got enough, and maybe you haven't got membership, and if you've got enough members items to sell, get yourself a bond, that might be nice.
Exactly.
That sort of thing, and clear out bank space and whatnot.
Greenman's
I think we first started looking at this when we were scoping out the launch of free-to-play and bonds back in 2015, so that's how long it's been on our minds.
I can certainly only imagine how annoying it can be to be a free-to-play and be like, I could buy a bond right now and become a member, but I can't because my money's in these items that I could sell and I can get that. It's the same thing with Iron Man as well, but we spoke about that before as well, maybe having, James Bond be a person you can talk to buy a bond for the highest possible price you can buy one, and he'll buy it for you and give it to you, just to avoid having to get a different account.
You'd be going via the GE, basically.
Yeah.
There's a question that's come through the chat with this let free-to-play's merch. We would stop you from buying members' items.
Yeah, the selling.
It'd be a one-way.
Only selling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except possibly buying a bond.
Could random event rewards be changed to scale with total level? Most of them are underwhelming and not worth doing.
As in, when you're a higher total level, just give me genies.
Genies for days.
Back in 2009, I did a rework of all random events. Took a few weeks and made a. They all gave you a kind of generic reward item. It was a big pink box with tied up with a bow, and the contents of it was encoded on the object based on the skill total you had at the time and how you'd performed in the event, if that were relevant. Like if you solved it first time rather than bursting the wrong balloons a few times first. And so when you opened it, you'd be able to choose what category of item you wanted, and the quantities and qualities would be scaled to your skill total at the time when you got the box and and your performance in the event, with exceptions built in so that if it had been the school random events, you could choose to get the Book of Knowledge, and I bet you always did.
Yeah.
And but other resource options would be in there as well if you really didn't want the Book of Knowledge but felt like having some coal. We could do something of the sort again. Heck, we might even be able to lift some of the code I used last time from the from RSV's archives. That said, of all the things we could be doing, this does not feel like the most pressing one, because it might encourage more people to do random events, but
do we want them to?
Yeah, I'd rather we encourage you to do other things.
It's not fun content, right?
No.
It wasn't meant to be, I think.
No, it was created to disrupt botters, but it did not succeed for very long.
Okay. I'm going to ask maybe one or two more questions before wrapping things up a little bit early.
Oh, wow.
Because I've got another user-generated piece of content that I'd like to show off.
Ooh.
So let's go for... As it stands, new players are dropped in Lumbridge with no idea what to do next. I propose adding a toggleable suggestion system. It would check players' stats and suggest the next easiest quest using an order based on lore or quest line. It could also recommend skilling methods to reach the requirements for the next one.
So we are actually building something very similar to that at the moment. Not quite the same, but very similar. But it'll be a while before you really see it, because we're going to go through a series of testing to make sure it's effective and actually doing good rather than doing bad for the players' experience, etc. But they actually are doing something kind of similar just for new players, which is optional.
Sure. Chat of sort of really against this for some reason.
There's a lot of no's there. Whoa, hang
hang
on a second. Like, we get a surprising amount of players coming in who have never played this game before.
Probably about 3 times as many of you as are watching the stream right now have created an account today.
Yeah, we are. I say surprisingly as if it's a bad thing, but to many people, surprise, a very popular game to new players who have never played it before. People think that the people who are joining our game are, have played before, and that's not true. And you guys are aware that we're trying to work on that. And you guys already know that we're trying to bring more people in, and in turn also ensure that when those people come in, they have the best possible experience, right? You saw with our recent discussions about partnerships that you guys voted no to, which was, of course, perfectly fine as well. We pulled it for a reason. There are other things that we need to do to ensure, we've spoken about these in blogs, just to make sure that people who do come in have the best possible onboarding experience. It's not nice to be a person who's never played Old School before and not have a friend, some people don't, myself included, sorry, and not have somebody guide you through a game that is now, 10, 11 years old if you class from 2007?
I'll jump in just to add a bit of context to it as well. we're not taking new players and holding their hand through the game. It's just about giving them a bit more learning than you get on Tutorial Islands. So how does the game actually work? Which includes doing a little bit of work on the tutorial as well. But it's all caveated around the wanting to protect the heritage and the experience that you get as a new player coming to a game like Old School, because it is essentially a museum of a way that the game could have taken in 2007, right? So it's about balance, and it's not something I expect we'll get right first time either.
Yeah, we know Tutorial Island is a thing that people remember about Old School RuneScape, and we don't want to change that entirely to include every skill possible and completely change the way that it works, because that's something, that's something that you guys know and love as a part of Old School, but we also need to add something to assist with that, and the best way of doing that is something that you guys probably won't even come across yourselves. but something that somebody who's new will and can assist them in becoming another awesome player like you who can vote on our polls and enjoy our content.
As a whole, I think we're looking at it in a completely different way to how it's been looked at in previous iterations and in what RuneScape has tried to do.
We're essentially packaging up the sort of early game content that's already there and just making making you aware of it and helping you understand why it's there, what it might be used for, and that kind of stuff.
There's that, but the whole game, right, Old School, is a steep learning curve. That's not going to change. But the game is the game. Yeah. This is about trying to help people understand that and give them the tools to be able to deal with that. I saw players in the chat just now suggesting that why not just go and watch YouTube videos. That is literally something we could teach the player, right? That it's that sort of thing, because we know full well when you go and do some quest, you're going to read a quest guide for the most part. We should prepare people for this and explain like the different things you can do, whether it's chatting to other players, getting help from others, or searching Google or using YouTube guides. Let's give the players those sort of ideas, point them to some of the early stuff to do so they can start to get integrated and understand these things. But the game's the game, and it's about helping people understand what the game is.
It's ultimately not easy, Scape, to point somebody at, look, there's a chef in that kitchen, talk to him, he might have a quest for you. Or, look, you've got a strength skill, consider levelling it. It's not playing the game for you, and it's not taking away the grind.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, the rewards, they weren't all that exciting either, sorry.
They're not meant to be anything.
Red.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the approach of it as well, is that we're being quite cautious with this. We're not just expecting, we know what good looks like for something like this, because it's never been done properly. So we've got our own ideas, we're building them, they're going to be tested, validated through data in that if someone's actually on one of these new features, do they stay with the game for longer, or is it more detrimental? And if so, we'll just take it out. It's about learning, and we'll share what we're learning as we're going.
Fluffy points out, isn't there a Lumbridge guide? Yeah, there is. The thing about the Lumbridge guide is that he's only there if you talk to him and go through dialogue trees, which is not a very effective way. Like, how many people seriously learnt how to control their attack styles from talking to the NPC in Lumbridge?
Yeah.
That's... Maybe a few of you genuinely did and found it a good learning experience, but we think there could be a better one, rather than there being an NPC behind a tree who, if you speak to them and ask the right things, will try to describe via our chat box medium how to control the buttons on the left of your panel. That's not sensible. If they opened up a YouTube video, they'd probably be doing better than they are now. We'd like to work on that kind of thing. Maybe also say, it's been suggested by some that we shouldn't care about getting in new players and focus all our efforts on just pleasing you, the ones we already have. Now, I get that, because you guys managed to learn the game without these features. Why shouldn't everyone else? The thing is, if we focus solely on just the players we've got, with the best will in the world, you are probably mortal. And life events happen.
Sorry, I just realised where you're getting with it.
Yeah, life events happen to the best of us with the best in the world that take people away even if they don't want to. If we just say, OK, we've got these customers, we'll just look after them and never think about ever getting any new ones, I do not think that's going to work out in the very long term. And even if that might be OK for some of you, I'm afraid it's not going to keep the game for people who would like to keep playing it in future. So yeah, we're going to look at these things that we'll try to avoid them impacting how the game is, but we would like to make it a bit less of a slap in the face when you drop off Tutorial Island and find yourself in the big wide world there.
It's very different to be told, hey, quests exist from a random block through 20 bits of dialogue trees that you are definitely spacebarring through 9 times out of 10 anyway, than it is to go, oh, talk to this guy, he'll start a quest, just like he said. It's completely different being inside of an enclosed environment. That essentially, Tutorial Island is almost too hand-holdy sometimes, to a point where when you get dropped in the centre, you actually don't know how to find a quest or how to the skill, right? There's no giant rats unless you go over to the swamp, right? Unless you're not going that way. If you go north, you're like, oh, can I attack cows? Is that a thing that I do to train? Is how do I train my... I got 20 attack before I got like any defense and strength levels when I first started playing this game, like dozen year ago now. Like, it's important.
Yeah, for sure. I think the vast majority of, well, hopefully you guys want the game to continue to thrive and succeed and do well, as we obviously do, of course. And it's like that question we had earlier saying, you know, what are you doing to bring new players in? Well, we're doing various things, but there are two parts to that, which is getting new players interested, but then also keeping them once they've, you know, logged in. And like we say, it's not particularly intuitive once you leave Tutorial Island what you're meant to do next, or at least not for many players. We've found that's one of the particular drop-off points. So anything we can do to sort of retain players a bit better and get them to experience the rest of the game, which you guys are already playing and enjoying, the better.
And we need more noobs, otherwise who's going to buy all your supplies?
It's not like we're suggesting nerfing the Dark Wizards up by the rock so that they won't kill people.
Oh no.
No one's
Wouldn't allow it.
You still have your ring of coins. Right. I realise we're just about at time. I don't think we're going to have time to show off the thing I wanted to, but I will give it a shout out. It's a piece of content generated by, I can't remember the name of the player off the top of my head.
Show it? How long does it take?
No, it's quite long. What I'll do is I'll ask our producer to spam it in the chat briefly so you guys can have a look. It's the Desert Treasure quest turned into Undertale sort of form.
It's so good.
If anyone ever played Undertale when they were younger, excellent game. This person has done an excellent rendition with the 4 bosses from Desert Treasure. If you're interested in watching,
We can show it at the end, right?
we could, but I think
Oh,
some
but
of us have to
our
leave.
producer might need to leave.
It's,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Anyway, we'll leave.
That's okay.
We'll leave that with you guys. We hope you enjoy it. Quick overview of the announcements. ! Warding to read the final Warding blog before polling on Friday. ! Progress to see the Song of the Elves progress blog. That's obviously being released next week. We hope you enjoy it. And update tomorrow is going to be Last Man Standing changes with some other news in there. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Yep.